Most people think strength is what happens when everything is falling apart. They imagine strength as endurance, as toughness, as surviving pain. But strength reveals itself much earlier than that. Sometimes it reveals itself in a conversation, a disagreement, a disappointment, a delayed message, a bad day, a rude comment, a mistake. Because emotional stability isn't tested when life is easy, it's tested when life refuses to go your way. And that's where people discover something uncomfortable. Most people are not living their lives, they are reacting to them. A good mood makes them productive. A bad mood destroys their entire day. One compliment lifts them. One criticism follows them for a week. One setback changes how they see themselves. The problem isn't the event. The problem is the lack of distance between the event and the reaction. Emotion becomes command, and the person obeys. That's how countless lives are controlled without people realizing it, not by other people, not by society, but by emotional impulses they never learn to understand. Someone feels rejected, so they withdraw. Someone feels insecure, so they compare. Someone feels uncomfortable, so they distract themselves. Someone feels uncertain, so they avoid action. And after enough years, they mistake these reactions for personality. They say, "This is just who I am." But often it isn't who they are, it's who they have repeatedly become under emotional pressure. That's an important difference, because emotions are real, but they are not always accurate. Fear can feel like truth, anger can feel like certainty, anxiety can feel like prediction, insecurity can feel like reality, and yet none of them necessarily describe what is actually happening. They only describe what is happening inside you. Emotionally unstable people treat feelings as facts. Emotionally stable people treat feelings as information. That difference changes everything. Imagine two people receiving the exact same criticism. One immediately feels attacked, their mood changes, their confidence drops. The comment follows them for days. The other pauses, they examine it. Maybe it's useful, maybe it isn't. Either way, their identity remains intact. Same event, different relationship with it. That's what emotional stability really is. Not the absence of emotion, the ability to experience emotion without becoming controlled by it. Many people think emotional stability means becoming cold, detached, unfeeling. Actually, it's the opposite. The most emotionally stable people often feel deeply. They simply don't surrender control every time they feel something. They can be angry without becoming destructive, disappointed without becoming hopeless, afraid without becoming paralyzed, successful without becoming arrogant. Because emotional stability is not about suppressing emotions, it's about refusing to become their prisoner. And modern life makes this increasingly difficult. Every platform profits from emotional reactions: outrage, comparison, envy, fear, validation, attention. The more emotionally reactive people become, the easier they are to influence. That's why calmness has become rare. Not because people are weak, because they are constantly being stimulated, constantly pulled, constantly emotionally activated. And a constantly activated mind loses perspective. Everything starts feeling urgent, everything starts feeling personal, everything starts feeling bigger than it really is. That's why emotional stability has become one of the most valuable skills in existence. Not because it makes life painless. Life will still disappoint you, people will still leave, plans will still fail, unexpected things will still happen. Emotional stability doesn't remove difficulty, it prevents difficulty from taking ownership of your mind. Because eventually you realize something. Life isn't controlled by what happens to you, it's controlled by what happens inside you after it happens. And the strongest people aren't always the smartest, or the richest, or the most talented. Often they are simply the people who learned how to remain themselves, even when life gave them every reason not to. That is emotional stability. And in a world constantly trying to get a reaction from you, it may be one of the rarest forms of strength left.